to have many representatives of organizations who have been fighting against human trafficking and sex trafficking for many years, and the legislators who have taken the lead in these efforts. In particular, we want to thank Congressman Wagner for getting an effort started in the House and legislation that's already passed, and for Congressman Walters for having an amendment on the sex trafficking side of this that then was embraced and taken up on the Senate side. And we look forward to legislation championed by Senator Portman and co-sponsored by Klobuchar and Senator Blumenthal that we expect to get a vote in the Senate next week. We at the White House have tried to bring more attention to the plight of sex trafficking, and I think many people believe it's more of an international crisis and not so much of a domestic one. Ivanka's been a lead for us and has had several roundtables here at the White House as well as the State Department trying to elevate attention to this issue, not just internationally but also domestically. So I'm going to turn to her for some opening comments, and then we'd afford the opportunity for the elected representatives to make comments as well.
Thank you, Mark. And it's an honor to be here today with a great bipartisan group of members, as well as notable members from the private sector and NGO communities to discuss the horrific crime of online sex trafficking, and most importantly, action to prevent it. Human trafficking is a form of modern slavery affecting men, women, and children of all ages and backgrounds, breaking apart families and communities, both here in the US and around the globe. One of today's most prevalent forms of trafficking is the buying of selling of young boys and girls. This is a hidden crime, and while the numbers are hard to track, we are all very well aware that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry impacting the most vulnerable members of society. According to the United Nations, nearly 5 million innocent people were trapped in lives of sexual slavery. This time last year, President Trump declared that combating human trafficking was a priority, noting that he was prepared to bring the full force and weight of our government to address this critical issue. Over the past year, we've held roundtables here at the White House, worked with interagency, Congress, NGO, and survivors to determine meaningful ways we can collectively expand and improve our work to combat these crimes. In September, we joined a global call to action with world leaders at the United Nations and championed the Global Fund to End Modern Slavery. And when the President proclaimed January as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, we pledged to redouble our efforts to ensure that modern slavery comes to its long overdue end. Our commitment is evident by the amazing work being done at the federal agencies that make up the President's Interagency Task Force to combat trafficking in persons. This administration has and will continue to make this a top priority. Last year, we saw notable bipartisan support for legislative action and passed 15 bills, with more in the pipeline. Today, we're here to discuss more specific pieces of legislation. The Allow States and Victims to Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, better known as FOSTA, sponsored by Congresswoman Ann Wagner from Missouri. Thank you, Ann. This legislation also includes important language from the Senate bill, Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, better known as SESTA, which was sponsored by Senator Portman from Ohio. I have discussed these pieces of legislation with almost everyone in this room over the past several months and commend you to getting us where we are today. On behalf of the President and administration, we want to thank all the members here today for your leadership and commitment to end the shameful and tragic crime of online sex trafficking. We also recognize that this can't be done without strong support from the private sector and from NGOs, who work tirelessly to prevent these crimes and protect innocent lives. This administration is committed to ending this grave injustice and restoring safety, peace, and hope for our citizens and our communities. I look forward to this discussion. Thank you all for being here. And with that, I'll open up. So maybe Senator Portman, if you could start us, and thank you.